You mentioned a very important thing, and that is part of what the bill is intended to do is to prevent any one leader from entrenching him or herself. So much so that, after a while, of course, that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And it is a sort of a check and balance. We see it in the United States and so on, where president only serves 2 terms. But in the United States, they vote for a president.
Yes.
In our case, we do not vote. The electorate does not vote for a prime minister. The prime minister is elected from the majority of the elected representatives. He has to command that support. But there's a question I want to ask. Do you think, though, that given all that you have said and what the bill is intended to do,
yes,
do you think that this bill is more suitable for a coalition government?
Well, I don't know if it has any relevance whether it's coalition or not a coalition. You have raised the issue about the United States of America, and they have a somewhat different political system than we do in the English-speaking Commonwealth. Our governments are based on what is called a Westminster-style government, adopted from the British Parliament, in which we have a prime minister. And as you so rightly say, in the United States, there's a president who does not sit in Congress, for instance, where they have the 2 houses of legislature. In the Westminster system, the prime minister is elected from among the elected representatives who sit in Parliament, who commands the majority, as you so rightly say. So there is that distinction. And so, in terms of whether you're coalition or not, if someone commands the majority of elected representatives in Parliament, if you have the stature, you are thought to have the acumen to lead the country forward, you will be the person who gets the support in putting forward an agenda. And in our case, the Honorable Timothy Harris has commanded the majority support of the elected representatives in Parliament before and after. And we stand solidly behind him, saying that he is the person who we want to be the Prime Minister. We are saying, though, that over time, whoever the leader, whether it's Timothy Harris, whether it's Denzel Douglas, that there is a tendency that over time we tend to have certain proclivities for governance. And we feel that you come in, there will be a period when you will institute very important and powerful transformations in your society. And once that is done, it's time for new blood, for other thinking to come along and do so. And that is the basis on which you tend to have, whether it's 1, 2 terms, some cases 3 terms, that there is really the basis under which we would do that. For there to be fresh thinking, new leadership, freshness, to keep us, as it was, moving forward and adapting to a changing world in which we live in.
Sure. I want to ask you a provocative question, though. Suppose after 2 terms, 2 5-year terms, that somehow that the Honorable Dr. Timothy Harris, that he still commands the support and majority, and those decide that, look, we're not going to bend because we think that he is capable, we think that he would have done a good job, and so therefore we want no other leader. We want him to continue.
It's a provocative question, and it really determines ultimately how our legislation goes forward. We have had the first reading, but the law is that after 2 terms, you're no longer able to do
the law
so.
stands.
So the law would stand. Some may question, is the law going to be unconstitutional? And we will have that debate when we come to that point as we go forward. But the issue fundamentally is we are a country of laws. The rule of law should stand, and if we pass a law to that extent, that should determine and govern how we govern in this country.
Of course, there are those who are on the other side, and they're saying that, look, such an important bill should really be brought to the people, that they should have some sort of a referendum. I suspect that the Constitution will have to be amended and so on. So we are talking here constitutional reform. Would you want to address that?
Well, the thing is that these matters will be debated once we go before the Parliament. And I think that we will be going out on the road to look at our governance agenda, freedom of information, integrity in public life, other bills that we'll bring to the people before we go to the second and third readings. And these matters will be debated fully, ventilated. I would say that we are not unique in the Caribbean that you have these types of bills. I think it was done in Trinidad and Tobago. We have had a situation where we now learn that in 2 days' time, on Friday, the 4th of this month, December, the Grenada Parliament will be looking at a potpourri, a similar type of bill in terms of the term of the Prime Minister, so that it is a welcome, I think, development in Caribbean politics that we are bringing it to the table, we are debating it and discussing it, and it should, in my mind, lead to improvements, significant improvements in the whole question of governance in our region, where people would adhere to the rule of law, follow the administration of justice, and people can feel as though that their democracy is live and well and good for all of us.
Yes, certainly it represents a paradigm shift